All right, so the other day I made a video talking about how the Pac-12 is falling apart, and the last update, Washington State University and Oregon State University had gotten a restraining order against the Pac-12 and the Pac-12 commissioner, preventing the rest of the schools from voting to change the bylaws in the current Pac-12 bylaws. And it seems that there might be another update here, as Greg Swime tweeted today saying that out of nowhere, the talk that Wazoo and the Beavers are going to get an invite to the Big 12 has some merit. The TV partners are definitely going to have to finance this one, as those two aren't SMU. So he's saying, and he's a reputable source, that potentially the Big 12 might be offering Wazoo and Oregon State. So to talk more about that, we have on Dylan Haugh with Coug Fan. So let's get him on here. All right, so Dylan, you sent me this tweet actually from Greg Swime. Can you kind of fill us in on what's going on here?
I mean, it's just been a wild goose chase that Oregon State and Wazoo just have been kind of looking for updates on, waiting to see if there's some sort of fallback into a Power Four or a seat at the table, and we haven't gotten any. And really, the first domino we have was, hey, this week on Monday, the two Pac-12 schools filed that restraining order that was granted, and essentially there was a board meeting this Wednesday earlier this week where it essentially looked like the 10 schools that decided, hey, we're taking off, forgot to pillage the assets that they had remaining, and we're like, whoa, we that's our money.
Right.
So maybe there are some bigger strings being pulled in terms of ESPN. So let's just kind of go back. Right now, under the Big 12's new media deal, ESPN, regardless of who the Big 12 adds into their conference, is footing the bill for $21 million for that media contract. The Fox filling in the other 11. So the current Pac-12 deal that ends this year, members are making around $20 million. So WSU has been able to budget on this, and as well as OSU, where, hey, if you can come in and, hey, you can eat that $20 million, or you even say, hey, give us $15 million, we just want a seat at the table. Maybe this court case is kind of putting the fire underneath the butts of the other 10 schools, where hey, they can come to a resolution if Wazoo and Oregon State are let in.
Yeah. So basically, Washington State University and Oregon State are holding this, thing above the rest of the pack.
Some sort of they finally have some leverage.
Maybe. Right. They're like, hey, we could just not go this route, and then we potentially could control all of the assets, which you and I were talking off camera could be potentially in the neighborhood of $200 million.
Yeah, and again, hey, under the NCAA laws, you have the 2 years to figure out, hey, we can get 8 teams and be a conference. So if they really want to drag this out, they have that opportunity. There's been talks of the scheduling alliance with Mountain West Conference to kind of afoot that for the athletic departments for Washington State and Oregon State. So, hey, where there's hopefully where there's smoke, there's fire. There's been a lot of these tweets. Swain, I wanted to go back to that tweet again because he did reply into it. Somebody was essentially paraphrasing here. Why should we believe this? Why? Where's the merit on this? And he goes,
yeah, he said from my Denver source, who's been on the money 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And then also you said that he was also in front of the rest of the team who's moving to the Big 12.
Yeah, the Four Corner schools. Swain was in on some of these tweets early on in the process, and hey, they're going to dip out of here to the Big 12. Again, you're trusting sources on X, and but I think there could be some merit to this. If the court case with the Pac-12, if the judge decides that, hey, the notice that those teams gave, where it wasn't that written formal notice, but hey, you're blasting it on Facebook, you're sending it,
That's
Like,
as formal as you can get, really.
yeah, UW was sending it out to their alumni associations just this week. UW's president was figuring out a $15 million, loan or payment for the Big Ten that's upcoming. It's like this is about as
But wait,
public
we
as
we
it
haven't
gets.
sent the email yet, so that doesn't count.
Yeah, so I think these 10 Pac-12 schools just didn't have this doomsday idea where they had every possibility that they thought of, and apparently maybe one of those possibilities was WSU and Oregon State saying, "Hey, you're not taking." We're standing ground here. We're gonna try and milk the pack and its image and its the network, the NCAA tournament units, and shoot, what if we get the Pac-12 gets two schools into the college football playoff? It's not likely, but I tell you by the initial look and some of the non-conference wins, Oregon going into Texas Tech and winning, Utah, holding their ground at home against Florida and going to Baylor and winning with their backup quarterback. WSU drawing nearly 3 million viewers on ABC as they were going up against Texas and Alabama. I mean, how blue blood can you get in college football than those two
Yeah,
schools? And still putting up some good numbers and beating Wisconsin. I mean, what is there, six teams ranked right now in the Pac-12?
there's 8.
Eight,
8
eight,
Pac-12
and
schools ranked in the top
out
25
of,
right now.
out of all the schools playing this week, I don't see any of them losing either. Colorado should beat Colorado State. WSU plays a Big Sky opponent. Utah plays Weber State. I mean, cake games.
Yeah, and one offhand thought, what are the odds that, Washington State and Oregon State stays in the Pac-2 and they steal some schools from other conferences? I know that's pretty unlikely, but what's this just thinking offhand, if they have all of these assets that are available that they have control of, can they leverage that and bring in some other schools from other conferences, maybe the Big
Yeah,
12, Big 10?
maybe the reverse merger,
Yeah.
with the Mountain West Conference. That's obviously a thought, and that's kind of where we thought this was going, and then kind of uh, the court case came up and the restraining order. So that's obviously now we're kind of seeing WSU and Oregon State working collectively here, trying to figure out what the best decision is for their school going forward, together in the fight. And we've seen it on social media apps. Cougs and Beavs are really really standing together, and it's been fun to kind of see the discourse across the two fan bases. And then obviously they're good football teams. Also, WSU volleyball just went in and beat a top 10 Big 12 opponent in obviously Texas. They're taking off, but they've beaten three Big 12 opponents in the past week. It just
Love to
goes to
see it.
show, hey, WSU I think is the only school right now that has a women's soccer program, a women's volleyball program, and a men's football program all in the top 25. Underdog my ass, like Jake Dicker says. Everything we got, all we need.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, Dylan, appreciate your time. If you're watching this, we'll keep you posted as things progress, whether they do go to the Big 12 or whether they stay as the Pac-2. So thanks again for your
Thanks for
time.
having